Good, good afternoon, everybody. And Charles, if you could pull folks in from the hall there, we'll go ahead and get started on our second session here. I'm Robert Ferris, a Georgia State Forester and Director of the Georgia Forestry Commission. And I want to start out by thanking everybody for being here. It means a lot when we see this kind of turnout across this diverse group of the forestry community to come and learn and hear more about the profession that we're all in. And I hope you've enjoyed the lineup of speakers that we've had so far. Had some great speakers. You're going to hear some more. You've been teased, starting with yesterday, with a few one-liners about every one of the issues and topics that this group of speakers will be addressing. And we heard in the first session that Georgia's forests are sustainable out there and tremendous. And our forests can support additional growth, additional jobs, continue to provide additional benefits to our citizens. We have the forest resource here in the state. And you've heard we are a leader in Georgia with forestry, not just a national leader, but a global leader. But there's more to forestry and more to the growth of forestry than simply having the resource. We've got to have that commitment to sustainability, the commitment to management, and then there's things that we can say maybe beyond our control. Regulatory aspects, legislative issues at the federal level. We've got to stay tied in and connected with that and influence those policymakers. So we've got a great lineup of speakers today. You'll hear from experts in forest policy at the federal level, and going to get deeper in the weeds with some of the things that you've heard earlier today. And it's my pleasure to introduce the speakers today. And following Mr. Isler's moderation of the first group, I'm not going to give you something that's not in their bio. Their bios are on their app, but I've asked the speakers, with the exception of Wanda, to share with y'all something personal that they're willing to share anyways, that's about themselves that's not in their bios. So we have with us today Christopher Hess, Director of Public Relations and Government Affairs, and Deb Hawkinson, President and CEO of Forest Resource Association, to the right here, most commonly known as FRA, where we live in a world of acronyms. And they'll discuss recent advances in Congress to increase allowable truck weight on federal roads and a really important operational aspect of forestry here in Georgia. Then we have Dan Bremer, President of AgWorks H2, and he'll address the seasonal labor issue that we've heard a little bit about so far to this meeting. And again, advocacy at the federal level. Then we have Ms. Jane Alonzo, Vice President of Government Relations with NAFO, National Alliance of Forest Owners. And Jane will talk about the top issues for forest landowners in the U.S., including forest roads, water regulation, and carbon neutrality of biomass. And then on the very end, I'm sorry, between now and then we need to find you a box, Wanda, but Ms. Wanda Bars of Gully Branch Tree Farm, and she'll discuss issues surrounding the U.S.-Canada lumber agreement, which, as we know, expired October of 2015, and she'll provide a landowner's perspective. So with that, I think we'll start off with you, Ms. Deb, if you want to kick it off for us.
Sure, happy to. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Now, I have to tell you, just about 2 minutes ago, he told us to come up with something about ourselves you might not know, so I had to think about that. So I think you probably would not know that I'm the daughter of a retired Marine Corps colonel, and I'm the wife of a man who served in the 82nd Airborne and left the Army as a captain, and I'm the mother of a son who's a captain in the Army and a doctor, finishing his residency as an orthopedic surgeon. So lots of military in my life, and very proud of those who serve, and any of those that you serve in the audience, thank you for your service. So with that, I'll get into forestry. It's a real pleasure to be here today. And obviously, after the forest presentation we heard today, Georgia is the place to be. You're the powerhouse of the industry leaders. And I'm excited to be here amongst this group. You've got a lot of growth, a lot of opportunities, and you've just picked a great leader in Andre to head this association. Steve did a wonderful job, and I'm real excited about Andre, looking forward to continuing to work with him. Some of you, as I look around the room, and after I've been here the last day or so, I've seen many of our FRA members, but many of you here may not know who FRA is or what we do, so I thought I'd take a brief moment and go into that. And we're the national association that represents the wood supply chain. So our members are landowners, suppliers, consumers, and then those businesses that support that supply chain and help it be effective. FRA really is a blending of the entire forest product supply chain, and we provide a unique opportunity for industry leaders across the country to come together to, and I guess I need to advance to my next slide, to come together and think about those issues that are of concern and opportunities that we're facing at both the national and the regional level, issues that pertain to safety and wood efficiency, operations, and also we provide a voice in the political arena in Washington, D.C. And I'm very pleased to be here at this meeting with some of my favorite allies in the national D.C. spotlight, and of course Jane with NAFO, and I know Rita Height is here, I think somewhere there, with American Forest Foundation. So you really have a great group of us, I think. I can speak of our associations and the work we do in DC. We work very well together, and we really are finding that with the challenges and the issues that we're facing are becoming more and more complicated as we look at the legislative arena and we look at the regulatory policies that are coming at our industry. And we know more now than ever we need a unified voice on those issues where we have commonality, and we know the importance of working together. We rely on each other. You'll be hearing today not only about truck weights, but H2B, big issue for FRA, and many of the issues that Jane will report on for NAFO. We also have a common alliance with them on. And we know up on Capitol Hill, it's a very, very noisy place. And we need our allies, and we also need Georgia people to be politically engaged, and FRA's members that are across the country to be politically engaged. Because without you, it's going to be really challenging for us to make a difference on those public policies that impact your businesses. So going on into truck weights, Chris and I will provide you an update on a little bit of, I'll cover the background and where we've been, and Chris will cover where we think we're going with the new Congress and what's ahead for us. But before I get into any of that, I want to note that Chris has been with FRA for 3 weeks, the last week of which he was at the convention. So he's brand new to the forest products industry, but he is not brand new to the policy issues that we work on. I stole him from Capitol Hill, so he's fresh off the hill, and very, very well, I think, ready to step into the shoes at FRA. And Neil Ward is going to be retiring at the end of the year, and I think Chris will be a great successor for us. And I'm really excited he's here and look forward to you getting a chance to meet him. So on to truck weights. I'm going to cover what we already know here in this audience, and that is we have a problem to solve, and we've not yet solved it. We've made some headway on it, but we haven't solved the problem. And there's two driving forces of this problem, and it's operation efficiency and safety concerns with truck weight reform. Another important factor, in addition to just the trying to change legislation and the weight of trucks to be able to travel on the road and haul our products, is the shortage of truck drivers. It's a growing concern. You heard it today from Sean with Forest. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but that workforce capacity issue is one that we're watching closely at FRA, and we're concerned about it. And we are looking for opportunities where legislation maybe can make a difference, and truck weight reform is one of those. If we can make our trucks more efficient, there'll be less trucks needed to haul our products, and therefore can help us with the driver shortage that we're facing. Transportation of raw materials from woods to the mill is a key process in the wood supply chain. and it makes up for some 30% of the total cost. So it's not a light issue by any means. Technological development, we heard today, has really helped us make a difference in the harvesting part of our business and how it works. But we're not seeing those same kind of advantages in the trucking problem that our industry faces. There's a lot of new innovations out there. There's models for new efficient transportation. We're seeing it in the other nations around us have a much more efficient trucking system than we have. But we're finding that our government's truck weight rules for 80,000 pounds with 5 axles is outdated. It's not. It needs to be changed, and there's a lot of reasons why it needs to be changed. And we've just got our work cut out for us. So FRA has worked with the Coalition for Transportation and Productivity, joined forces with a lot of our allies in Washington and with our states to help us. And Congressman Ribble in Wisconsin introduced a bill that I think many of you are familiar with, the Safe, Flexible, and Efficient Trucking Act, this last fall. And his legislation would have improved truck weights, allowing 91,000 pounds to travel on the interstate with 6 axles. That was a compromise from our industry because I'm sure many of you may remember we wanted 96,000 pounds with 6 axles. And I remember getting calls when we went from 96 to 91 and people weren't happy. But we knew in Washington we would lose if we did not change because 91 is what the government has decided is bridge formula compliant. And the safety of the bridges are big for many of our key leaders up on Capitol Hill. And we needed to reduce that weight in order to make any headway at all. So we did that, and we were feeling pretty confident. Representative Ribble offered his amendment to the highway bill, what was known as the FAST Act, the Fixing America's Surface Transportation. And that amendment had strong bipartisan support. We all know in Congress right now, you got to have bipartisan support to make it happen. We had it. We were excited about it. We felt good about it. We were with a coalition of a lot of different businesses that care about truck weights. But we lost in the end by a vote of 186 to 237 when that amendment did not pass with the bill. And the reason we know for sure, and it's not new news, is the railroads are constantly trying to stop us and block our efforts for efficiency. We also know that the railroads have been very effective in creating grassroots campaigns, a coalition against bigger trucks, bringing in federal transportation people that are worried about heavier trucks on the road, making a big focus, putting a big focus on the safety issue. And in the end, they won. And the other thing that really hurt us was the Department of Transportation came out with a preliminary report that Congress had mandated they do a report on the truck size and weight study. They came out with a preliminary report right before some of these votes were taking place, saying that there were limitations in the data that they had collected, and therefore they could not, and they recommended that no policy changes were made to the truck weight rules because they just didn't have the data to support any kind of change. So that was extremely disappointing for those of us working on this issue. So we lost a major advocacy vote on that work that we had spent a lot of time and effort on, but we won some things. So I want to walk through some of the things we won, which it's always good to think about where you came out ahead. And we came out ahead really providing some truck weight relief to the forest product hauling on interstate highways. Following states I'll highlight on. We were able to get past 98,000 pounds, 6 axles for a 16-mile section of Wisconsin interstate highway. 99,000 pound 6-axle configuration, for a 25-mile section of Minnesota, and then 129 pound trucks on Idaho's interstate. I'm not sure if I'm on the right slide or not, but 129,000 pound trucks on Idaho's interstate system if they're bridge formula compliant. And we, in addition to the highway bill, and those wins we had there, we also thought now's a good time to segue over to the appropriations process and try to get some truck weight reform onto that. The consolidated appropriations process is what many of us know is the omnibus bill, and the omnibus bill is where they take all the budgets for the different departments, put them all together, pass them, and it's a bill that usually does not get a lot of scrutiny and debate because it's so large. So we tried to get some language onto that process, and the thinking is and you all may feel like maybe this seems very disjointed, but it's becoming really clear to us that trying to pass a federal law that is going to work across this country is going to be a very challenging thing for us to do. And we're not going to give up, because I think that's where we're going to end up. Because if we don't end up there, we're going to have a patchwork across this whole country. We're going to have states that have one size, another state has a different size, and it's going to make it very difficult. So I think it's going to start to be able to prove our point. We need federal interstate weight for us to use. So we were successful in the approach omnibus part bill in getting 6 axles to operate on the Maine and Vermont. That was a big pilot study that we were very successful with, and we've made that permanent. So in Maine and Vermont, they're great. They're going to have theirs forever. So that's where we want to try to get some of these other states and eventually get us the federal level. But Chris will talk more on that. And then the other thing that we really were happy about in the omnibus is that the Congress took a hit at the Department of Transportation, and they told them that they really felt that their preliminary report had very inconsistent conclusions, that the way that they were looking at the data was inconsistent, and the measures that they were using were making it very difficult to understand the report, weigh the pros and cons, and try to see the benefits. So I think that's kind of painted a picture of where we've been. And I think the challenges are, clear of what we've got ahead of us, and Chris will go into that. So I appreciate you letting me be here today. Thank you.